Hey guys, how is it going? Sam here. Welcome to yet another video. And this is an interesting one of my favorite topics, Route 53. So Route 53 is an offering from Amazon and it's their DNS service. So you might be wondering what is a DNS service, and many of you might be already aware. DNS it stands for domain name system, and it will help you to convert human friendly domain names to a corresponding IP address. uh, Everybody, whoever is using internet, they might have used DNS service. It's a popular one. So what it does is, the moment you enter, let's think about this use case. You are trying to access google.com. So what is the first thing you will do? You will be opening your browser. You will be entering this address www.google.com. So that's called as a human friendly domain name, www.google.com. So DNS, it will take your human friendly domain names, and it will be translating it to a corresponding IP address. It will make sure that your request is reaching the web application or the website. So that's why we are using DNS services. Amazon Route 53 is a highly available and scalable cloud domain name system web service. It's designed to give developers and business an extremely reliable and cost effective way to route end users to internet applications by translating names like www.example.com into numeric IP address like 192.0.2.1. It's an example that computers use to connect to each other. Amazon Route 53 is fully compliant with IPv6 as well. You might be aware of these terminologies. So we have two different versions, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv6 is the latest one, and yes, Amazon does offer support to Amazon IPv6 as well. Here is the tidbit. Why the name Route 53? So UDP, TCP are those services are using port 53, and that's how they've come up with name Route 53. Route 53, it resembles Route 66 of USA. So it's to handle all the web traffic, right? So they might have come up with Route 53 as a standard name. Moving on to the next slide, we have concepts to be familiar with. There are certain terminologies. If you are working with DNS, you might want to be aware of these. You can find the link in the description below. So the first thing, it's DNS. We have already discussed this. DNS, it stands for domain name system, more commonly known as DNS, is the networking system in place that allows us to resolve human friendly names to unique addresses. So it's a system which will help you to translate human friendly domain names to equivalent or corresponding IP addresses. A domain name is the human friendly name that we are used to associate with an internet resource. For example, google.com is one of the domain names. And then we have domain registrars. As the name says, these are the authority who will be registering domain names. And as you are aware, domain names must be unique. Otherwise, it'll be confusing, and it'll be pointless. So domain registrars, these are the authorities who will be registering these domain names. Getting a domain name involves registering a name you want with an organization called ICANN through a domain name registrar. For example, if you choose a name like example.com, you will have to go to a registrar, pay a registration fee that might cost around $10 to $35 for that name. So that's how you register. So with the domain registrars, you can register domain names of your choice. Then we have IP address. An IP address is what we call network addressable location. Each IP address must be unique within its network. When we are talking about websites, the network is the entire internet, and you know that, right? IPv4 we have, IPv6 is the latest one, and so on. Then we have top level domain, also known as TLD. So it is the most general part of the domain. Top level domain is the furthest portion to the right, as separated by a dot. Common top level domain are .com, .net, .org, .gov, .edu and .io. Moving on to the next slide, we have host. Within a domain owner can define individual host, which refers to separate computers or services accessible through a domain. For instance, most domain owners make their web servers accessible through a bare domain, example.com, and also through the host definition www. So The moment you try to access www.example.com, a request will be routed to that particular host. Then we have name server. A name server is a computer designed to translate domain name into IP address. So these servers do most of the work in DNS. They are there for translating your human friendly domain names to corresponding IP address. Since the total number of domain translations is too much for any one server, each server may redirect requests to other name servers or delegate responsibility for a subset of subdomains they are responsible for. So it's not a single server, understand that, because of the load and various concerns. It's a set of servers, and they will be having delegate access. They will be interconnected. There will be sub servers and things like that. We have zone files. Zone file is the simplest text file that contains the mappings between domain name and IP address. This is how the DNS system finally finds out which IP address should be contacted when a user requests a certain domain name for. We have records. Within a zone file, records are kept. In its simplest form, a record is basically a single mapping between a resource and a name. This can map a domain name to an IP address, define a name servers for the domain, define the mail servers for the domain. Things like that can be put into a record, and these are kept within a zone file. We have SOA records. SOA stands for a start of authority. It's a mandatory record in all zone files. It must be the first real record in a file. Then we have A and AA records. Both these records map to a host to an IP address. A record is used to map a host to an IPv4 address, and then the next one we are using to map a host to an IPv6 address. We have CNAME records, popularly known as canonical name records. These define an alias for canonical names for your server, one defined by A or A record. We have MX records. These are used to define mail exchange that are used for the domain. This helps email exchange messages arrive at your mail server correctly. We have NS records. This record type defines the name servers that are used for this zone. We have hosted zones. We have terminologies such as alias record. We have zone apex record. An apex record is one at the root of a DNS zone, sometimes known as naked domain. So these are the terminologies which we will be dealing with when we are working with DNS or Route 53. We will have a lab session, and there I think it will be easier for you to understand. You don't need to have a detailed understanding of these, but basic understanding of each and every terminology, I would prefer that. And moving on to the next slide. So Route 53 performs three main functions. It will register domain names, it will route internet traffic to resources for your domain, and it will check the health of your resource. So these are the three main functions. And we were seeing domain registrars, right? So Amazon, it's one of domain register. With Amazon we can register your own unique domain names. Your website needs a name such as example.com. Amazon Route 53 lets you register a name for your website or web application, but remember, you need to pay a certain fee. Then Amazon route internet traffic to resources for your domain. When a user opens a web browser and enters your domain name in the address bar, Amazon Route 53 will help DNS connect the browser with your website or web application. Then final and important function, Amazon Route 53 will help you to check the health of your resources. So Amazon Route 53, it sends automated request over internet to a resource such as a web server to verify if it is reachable, available, and functional. You can also choose to receive notifications when a resource becomes unavailable, and choose to route internet traffic away from unhealthy resources and reroute to other healthy instances. So those are the important functionalities of Route 53. And to use DNS or Route 53, these things are important. These things are mandatory. You need to have a registered domain name. You must have instances or resources to host your service or application. DNS service equipped with a routing policy or protocol to suit your needs. So let's take a look at the routing policies. We have got 5 different routing policies. Simple, weighted, latency based, failover, geolocation. This link you can find it in the description below. I would highly recommend you to go through this and have a high level understanding of these. So let's quickly take a look at these routing policies. Simple routing policy, use this when you have a single resource that performs a given function for your domain. Let me explain it with a diagram. So the user makes a request to reach a specific domain name. Amazon Route 53 will be in action, and it will take the domain name, it will convert it to a corresponding IP address, which will be hosted in one of your EC2 instance or resources. It will directly take you to that, and we are only talking about a single instance. So as the name says, it's one of the simplest routing policies. Then we have weighted routing policies. As the name says, we'll be employing weight to determine or to route the traffic. So use the weighted routing policies when we have multiple resources that perform same functions. For example, web servers that serve the same website, and you want Amazon Route 53 to route traffic to those resources in proportions that you specify. Maybe 60% of the traffic you need to route to a single instance, and then 40% to the other instance. You can do that scenario, and you can handle it with weighted routing policy. And here is the diagram. User makes a request to access your website, and Route 53 will take the DNS, it will convert it to corresponding IP address, it will consider the weight which you have provided or which you have defined, and based on the weight it will decide, okay, to what instance I have to route the traffic to. So in my case, I have got 75 weight here, and most of the traffic will be handled by the first instance or a first resource. 25 is the weight which I've assigned for resource 2. So the traffic will be very less because the weight is less. Most of the traffic is going to resource 1. And then latency routing policy. Use latency routing policy when you have a resource in multiple Amazon EC2 data centers that performs the same function, and you want Amazon Route 53 to respond to DNS queries with the resource that you provide the best latency. So here the focus is on latency. You need to make sure that your user is getting the best latency. You can see that my user 1 is from country 1 and user 2 is from country 2. Route 53 will come into action. It will decide, okay, user 1, if I route to resource 1, latency will be very less and it's going to be best for user 1. So that traffic will be routed to nearby country or nearby instance. Same is the case with user 2. Route 53 will decide, okay, what instance will give best latency for user 2. That instance traffic will be routed to that instance. And then we have failover routing policy. Use the failover routing policy when you want to configure active passive failover, in which one resource takes all the traffic when it's available and the other resource takes all the traffic when the first resource isn't available. So as the name says, it's typical failover scenario. Let me explain it with the diagram. So here user makes a request to access your website. Amazon Route 53 will take the DNS entry. It will be translating it to corresponding IP address. So here we have a primary instance serving all the traffic. If it goes down, secondary instance will be come into action. It will be active, and all the traffic from there onwards, Route 53 will redirect to that particular instance. So if something happens with primary and it goes down, a secondary instance or a backup instance will be up and running. We call it DR, disaster recovery, COB, or continuity of business, BAU, business as usual setup. So every organization will maintain this kind of environment for their production or live environment. There will be backup or secondary instance which is going to come into action when the primary goes down. So with Route 53 we can configure this primary and secondary, and if something happens to primary, Amazon Route 53's health check will detect it. It will redirect all the traffics to secondary instance, and user will have no outage. Finally, we have geolocation routing policy. Use the geolocation routing policy when you want Amazon Route 53 to respond to DNS queries based on the location of the user. So we have multiple instances in multiple countries. Users from different countries are trying to access your website or DNS. Route 53 will take the DNS. It will convert or it will resolve it to corresponding IP address. Since we have multiple instances, Route 53 will direct the traffic to the nearby country instance. If the user is from country 1, we have same instance running in country 1. Traffic will be routed to the same country 1 instance, and same is applicable for all the users. If the user is from another country 2, and we have an instance running on the same country, traffic is gonna route to the same instance. That will be the geolocation based on users location. Traffic will be routed. So these are the policies with we can improve the overall performance of the application. Traffic can be easily managed. And again, these links, make sure that you are reading these. You can find them in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching the video. If you know the drill, the next video will be a lab session. It will be a demo. We will register a domain name. We will try how to set it up, and we will see how it will be in action. Thanks a lot for watching the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.